welcome to Make Your Passion Pay. I'm Luann Beekler, creator of the Make Your Passion Pay Playbook, your host and guide on this exciting journey to building joyful and successful work environments. Known as the Little Spark, I've helped countless individuals and businesses ignite their potential through transformational coaching, creating thriving businesses and joyful workplaces. I have experienced the challenges of leaving toxic workplaces and building something better. I bring firsthand wisdom to help you align your work with your values. With insights drawn from working alongside world-renowned leaders and a deep passion for community and connection, I'm here to show you how to lead with joy and purpose. Let's dive into today's episode and start making your passion pay. Welcome to the Make Your Passion Pay podcast, where we review the 6 C's of the playbook to making your passion pay. Those are clarity, connection, community, collaboration, creativity, and commitment. Little slip of the tongue there today. So today I want to talk with Rich Potter, who is a franchise consultant, and we're going to touch on clarity of the business choices that you make and what franchise you might wish to get involved with. Hi, Rich. How are you today?
I'm good, Luann. Thanks for having me.
So excited to have you here. I often think that a good place for me as a business coach to be is to help franchisees. Did I say that right? I always get those words mixed up.
Yeah, no, you did. Yep, yeah. Every franchisee could use a good business coach for sure.
I love that. How did you get into this work of being a franchise hero?
Well, I mean, my journey took me about 10 years or longer to get here. I'm an Arizona State grad. I went to business school at Arizona State, and from there, I took a B2B sales job that I worked for 12 years. Absolutely loved it, but partway through my journey there, one of my largest accounts got bought out by a company in India. And I was really worried that I was going to lose, more than 60% of my commission overnight, that they were going to offshore all that production and my commission was going to disappear. And so, I love the idea of sales and the unlimited earning potential I had in sales. And I kind of related that to business ownership as well, right? So I came home after learning that and talked to my wife, and we decided that we needed to start a business. We didn't know what, we didn't know where. But we started brainstorming and looking around, and we looked on BizBuySell and we looked on Craigslist, and we actually stumbled upon a listing for a photo booth company for sale here in Phoenix. And we looked into that for a little bit, decided not to do it ultimately, but we liked the idea of it. So I went and got a $10,000 loan from my dad, and we bought a photo booth and created a website and launched our first business. And quickly one photo booth.
So it was not franchised though. You just
No. My first couple businesses were startups that my wife and I did. That one photo booth turned into 2 about 3 months later, and we hired our first crew to help us out, and then turned into bubble soccer rentals. And then a year later, we started an e-commerce business. That e-commerce business is now, 11 years old. We still own it. We still do a few $1 million a year on Amazon, eBay, Walmart. Still a great business that now is pretty much automated. My office manager and my warehouse team run that business. So a couple of years ago, actually about 3 years ago, we ended up selling the event business. I wanted a different lifestyle. The event business was great, and it was a good starting point for us, but it really involved a lot of weekends. And I've got 3 daughters, and I was missing a lot of stuff and working, Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights, and again, it was time. Like we had it for 10 years. It made it so that I could leave my corporate job. It really like helped transform our lives, but it was taking up all my weekends. So we sold it. We sold it to a former employee. And at that time, I was talking to a gentleman that I got to know through the Turo space. We were renting out cars on Turo for a couple of years. And he had become a franchise consultant 4 or 5 years ago. And he kept posting on Facebook and LinkedIn about what he was doing. And how much he enjoyed helping people get into business through franchise ownership. And then he wanted to start building a team under his brokerage. And so we spoke about it a few times. I was very intrigued about it. I was at the time helping people, coaching and consulting in the e-commerce space with helping people start up Amazon businesses. And it just felt like a really good fit, a really good transition from that into, you know, helping people get into business of all types. So about 3 years ago, I went through a training process over at the Franchise Brokers Association and became a fully licensed franchise consultant. So we sold the event business. We still have the e-commerce business. Now I run this consulting business. And about 6 months ago, I bought a franchise with my brother. So now I am a franchise owner as well as a business owner, or well as a consultant as well. So I kind of have both sides of understanding like the startup world. I understand the franchise world, and now I understand consulting and helping people get into it. So I
And
bring, I think, a very
so,
unique perspective when it comes to helping people get into business.
yeah. I mean, it would seem to me that you can consult with them on all aspects of getting into a business, not just the franchise piece. Like
Yep.
maybe franchising isn't right for them.
Yeah, because it's not right for everybody. I think it's right for a lot of people. I think it provides a lot of structure and support and help, especially for first-time business owners that are trying to figure it out. But it's not right for everybody. Everybody doesn't fit into that mold of having to follow someone else's playbook, per se. So, but
Well, that's where one of the areas where I think that I could be of service to franchisees is to helping them get in alignment with the franchisor and the core values of the organization and how they personally align and implement those into their location.
yeah, that makes sense. Yep. I do try to have a very similar approach up front so that we have alignment before they purchase. But it's always good to make sure that alignment stays there and is reinforced and focused on as you start and build that business too.
So, are you saying that as you work with someone, you look at their personal core values in alignment with the franchisors
Absolutely. So
core values?
absolutely. So I meet with my clients a couple of times before we ever even start looking at franchise brands. One of the things that we do together is we take an entrepreneurial assessment called the Spot On. I know you do a similar test based off of like following your passions or something like that, right? So this one is more based on personality types and strengths. So it's a 10-minute assessment. It's similar to like the disc profile, but it is created specifically for franchising. And it does help me know their values. It helps me know the type of what drives them. And so like I know like are they an achiever type? Are they a societal type?
Mm.
Because a lot of those things will help me determine like is this person going to be motivated more by making money? Like do they want a big business? They want to build an empire? Is this person more motivated by making a change and making a difference in the world and a difference in their community? Well, I need to show those two people completely different franchises, right?
I love
Um,
that.
so yeah, so we meet a couple of times to kind of figure out interest, skills, what industries fit you well, where your budget is, so that we're aligned with what I show you. I also want to know like, do you want a business that doesn't require employees? Do you want a business that requires 50 employees? Are you wanting something that's brick and mortar or something that's home based or something that requires a lot of sales, something that doesn't require sales. Like you want semi-passive, you want owner, like there's so much, right? Like I want to know you and the lifestyle you want to create before I ever start showing you any franchise concepts. Because my goal is to make sure that you are aligned with whatever it is that we end up picking, whatever it is you end up investing in and starting, you need to be aligned from day one. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a grind. Your likelihood of success is lower. So there's a lot that we do together to figure that out before we ever start even looking at franchise concepts. So, and that's why I think it's important to work with someone like myself versus just trying to Google search franchises and best franchises to buy in 2026. Like you might find some trending brands, but they might not have the right support, or they might not align with your core values. They might not align with your skills. So,
Right.
my service is free. So why not employ someone's free service that's in it every day, and they can help you find something that you align with versus just, throwing darts at a wall.
I love that. Tell me how your services are free.
Well, so the franchisor pays me from their marketing budget. So it's probably similar to like a real estate agent. Their service is free until they help you buy or sell your house, right? So my service is free, and then the franchisor is going to pay me from their marketing budget when you close on your franchise.
I
So,
love that analogy. And I just did a networking ask this morning for people that are in jobs that they hate and always talk about starting their own business but never take action to do it.
mm,
And historically, I've thought of that as a blockage around them not being able to identify the first step. Well, maybe the first step is actually deciding, do I want a franchise, or do I want a startup, or do I want an e-commerce? And someone like Rich or myself can help you with that as well, right? It's about diving into those passions and those values to help you make those decisions. So is the assessment that you do, this spot on assessment, is that something proprietary to the franchise heroes, or is that something like the Strength Finder that's out there that anybody can take?
yeah, it is something that's out there. A lot of franchise consultants use it. So again, it was created specifically for the franchising industry. So a lot of franchisors use it as well. Like they'll take their clients and have them, if the broker that introduced them, or if they, got connected directly, the franchisor in a lot of cases will make them take it too, just to make sure that they see alignment before they sell them a franchise.
Awesome. That's excellent. And so, what we're really talking about here is getting clear, right?
Absolutely.
We're
Yep, that's what
talking
it's all
about
about, right? Getting
clarity.
clarity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's like I said, that's what led me to eventually selling the event business. We had 8 photo booths. We were doing events for Larry Fitzgerald. For a time, we were doing events for Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. Like I'd load my photo booth on their semi truck. I don't know if you know Garth Brooks very well, but back in like I think it was pre-COVID, he was doing these stadium concerts, right?
Mhm.
And so I'd load my photo booth on his semi truck, and they'd take it to the next stadium concert. I would fly in the day before, and then the morning of, I'd set up my photo booth and do the tailgate party for Trisha Yearwood. So and we did events for NASCAR. Like we had a great event business. It just didn't align with what our goals anymore. So that's why we sold it. So
It didn't align with your lifestyle anymore. You mentioned lifestyle, right? And
yeah,
that's okay, folks, to talk about the lifestyle that you want to have. Because for all of this, and certainly for the work that I do, is I want you to have a quality lifestyle, not just be stuck in the rat race and the chaos and the struggle. Because let me tell you, being an entrepreneur is not easy, but you need to approach it the right way to create it something that you're passionate about, that you love to do, and creating the lifestyle that you want to have.
yeah, yeah.
So, Rich, some other advice for them in helping them to identify franchise or startup.
Well, yeah, it's a good question. I do another part of what we do is we look at industries. So I have over 500 different franchises across 37 different industries. So I've got this what I call as
Wow.
a category form, and it shows all 37 different industries and a definition of what that industry is. So a lot of times, especially in franchising, like you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what's out there, what can be a franchise, what isn't. And so we look at all of those. A lot of people think that franchising is McDonald's, franchising is Subway, right? It's food, it's opening a restaurant, and it's so much more than that. In fact, franchises outside of food and beverages are bigger than inside of food and beverage, right? There's home service franchises, for example, I think It's AI resistant. I think a lot of it has to do with trades, with roofing, plumbing, HVAC, window treatment, closets, even like cabinet organization and designing. They have franchises around that, like gutter cleaning. I mean, you name it. If it's something that can be systematized, you can write SOPs around it. The marketing's going to be similar. If someone's built a solid business in some market, if it can be repeated in other markets, that business can be franchised, right? So a lot of businesses out there can be franchised, and like I said, there's over 4,000 of them in the States, right? So there's so many options. So it is part of my job also is getting to know these franchises and the franchisors and understanding the level of support that they offer because they're not all the same, right? Some are just going to sell you a franchise, they're going to put you through a week's training and, good luck, right? But some and the good ones, they're there to hold your hand. You've got a business coach, you've got marketing support, you've got community support with, hopefully dozens, if not hundreds of other franchisees that
Mm.
that are there to help and share best practices and network with and lift everybody up together. That's what I love about franchising. You're not doing it alone, right? If I were to start a business, let's say a painting business here in Phoenix, I can't really reach out to the local painting companies and be like, "Hey, tell me all your secrets," because I want to compete with you and and start my own painting business right here in town. But if I buy a franchise and there's 50 other successful franchisees, I can call the owner in Dallas. I can call the owner in Atlanta and I'd be like, "Hey, I heard you're doing incredible. Like, tell me what you're doing. Like, teach me your ways." And they're going to be more than happy to do it. And that's one of the amazing things you see about franchising is that team collective. Everybody just wants to help each other else out. Um, you get it from the franchisor,
Everybody
but you also get
succeeds.
it from the individual franchisees, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen that with some franchisees that I've known in the business community, and everybody in my audience knows I'm a big proponent of BNI Business Network International. But that is another asset of being a member of BNI. If you take it beyond your chapter, is you can talk to professionals and business owners in other cities, states, or countries even,
Mm.
and talk about success factors and bounce ideas off each other and things like that. So important. So community is one of the C's, right? Community is another one of my 6 C's. You got to have a community of a support system around you. As an entrepreneur, it's just so important to keep you uplifted and encouraged and fighting the good fight, which
Yep,
is can be really fun if you're doing what you love.
absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And those first ones that you talked about, those franchisors who do a training for a week and then send you on your way, I'm in the middle there. Okay. You connect me with those guys so they
All
can
right.
say, hey, here's a good coach for you.
All right, we'll do. Love
One
it.
of my other C's, well, I suppose you need a big commitment to invest in a franchise. What is the financial investment typically? Is there a range?
Yeah, yeah, great question. Typically with a franchise, the term commitment is typically a 10-year term that usually renews at the end of it, right? So you at the end of the 10 years, you're going to renew it or you're going to sell it. A lot of people sell it at 5 to 10 years in. So that's the cool thing about it too, is it's your business, it's a sellable asset. But the investment side of it, it's huge range. I mean, I've got franchises. I do have a few that are under $50,000. I actually have one that's like 15,000, which is just unheard of. All in $15,000. But the majority of what I show in the home services, in senior care, in staffing, consulting, that kind of stuff. Some of them are home based. Some of them, if they require a building, it's going to be light industrial or small office. Those types of franchises are typically going to range from about $75,000 to maybe about $200,000,
Hmm.
all in. Now, if you get into something that requires a brick and mortar storefront, some health and wellness stuff, beauty, those are typically going to be probably 300 to 600,000. It's when you get into like the food and beverage that you're looking at like a half a million to maybe upwards of $2 million.
Wow.
So I know like traditionally people think of franchising as food, and so they think, oh, you need $1 million to open a franchise, and that's not necessarily the case unless you're looking to open up a restaurant or something. But I mean, you can get an incredible HVAC franchise for about $200,000. A restoration franchise, 175 to maybe $250,000 all in. That's every single line item. That's the franchise fee. That's your initial marketing. That's your business setup. That's your training expenses. That's even working capital. So franchises are required to build in every line item and even like enough cash in the bank to run the business for the first 3 to 6 months. So that's everything. And
Wow.
the way it's set up and the way that the FTC regulates franchising, banks like it and they like lending to franchise startups versus like a personal startup. If you went and tried to just do a personal startup of an HVAC business again, for example, you have no industry experience, you don't have, you're not buying a franchise, you're doing your own thing, it's going to be really, really hard to go get an SBA loan for that, right? But if you do a franchise, the bank will give you an SBA loan, which typically is anywhere from 10 to 20% down to qualify for that loan. So, the example of the HVAC business, you don't need all $200,000 or $250,000. Let's say it's 250 you're planning on. You can go with $50,000 down. You can qualify for that SBA loan to start that business. So where you think, oh, I need $1 million, no, you need $50,000, and you get that loan, and you can get started.
You read my mind. I was going to ask about financial support or loans for getting a franchise. So that's awesome information.
Yeah,
So,
the franchises do have to get like registered on the SBA registry, which is good too because they have to go through this whole qualification process and make sure that they meet all the qualifications and stuff like that. Another great way to do it is a 401k rollover. So you can use your retirement funds. Essentially, you're creating a C corp, and then you're redirecting your 401k into a fund that you were setting up, a 401k fund you're setting up under your own business, and you can take withdrawals from that tax-free, penalty-free for any business-related expense. You can even take withdrawals from that to pay your own salary, right? So it's an incredible way to tax defer and tax-free withdraw from your retirement accounts to start up a business. And then you've got incredible tax benefits too when you go to sell that business because it was created from a retirement fund. So, yeah.
wow, that's a plethora of information. That's amazing. So you help in all kinds of ways, from the very decision of do I get a franchise or not, all the way to financing it. Do you help people who have a system for their particular profession that they want to turn into a franchise? They want to
Yep.
become a franchisor? Do you
Absolutely,
help
we
those
do
people?
that too. So yeah, my associate Rick is him and I work together. We have a great lawyer on the team that's been doing it for decades. He writes your franchise disclosure document, and then we help you with SOPs, with training manuals. We get you into about a dozen different franchise shows so you can exhibit your franchise. But yeah, we do the whole thing for you, A to Z. Get it from your individual business to setting up the franchise to finding franchisees for you. Yep.
Wow, that's fantastic. I do hear that side of the equation from time to time where people are saying, I've got this system down now.
Let's
I was
franchise
looking to
it.
become a
Yeah.
franchisor, but I don't know where to begin with that.
Yeah, we can
Fantastic.
definitely help with that. So let's do that. And it's a great way to expand, right? Like it's so much harder, I think, to launch in another market, because you're hiring a general manager in another market and you're not there and you're trying to, so I'm in Phoenix, I want to launch in Salt Lake, right? It's so hard. You have to hire right, you have to train right, you have to do it remote, you have to travel a lot. And a manager only cares so much about the business, right? But what if you had an investor that bought that location? He or she is going to care way more about that business than a manager would, right? So it's kind of an extension of your own business. It is his own business, but you're providing some support and some training and all that stuff so that that person is successful. but you're collecting royalties, and you're helping expand your brand. So a
Nice.
lot of great benefits. I think it's an easier way to expand versus trying to do it all corporately.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. You made a comment when we talked before about clarity that many professionals make career and investment decisions emotionally instead of evaluating the actual structure. Tell us more about that.
I
I
think
mean, I'm a proponent of emotional decisions based on what you're passionate about, but
Mhm.
again, that does have to have critical evaluation.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're all emotional creatures, right? And we don't want to lose that aspect of it. Especially in business, like there's a time and a place for it. But the whole process I take people through is trying to remove, in some ways, like remove the emotional connection or the emotional aspect of it, in that like it does need to make logical sense, in that it needs to align, it needs to fit financially. Like there's both sides of it. I can see that for sure. But I on my assessment, I'm a thinker, right? So I'm an achiever and I'm a thinker. And so that thinking side of me, like it always has to like make sense logically for it to work. And I know not everybody's brain works that way, but for me it does. And so like that's just part of my approach is logically it has to fit. It has to check all those boxes for it to align.
Yeah. So even though my first two strengths are around positivity and communication, I do still have responsibility and strategic in it,
Yep.
which require those tools as well as that structure you're talking about, really making sure that it makes sense. You had to take on high income is not control. What does that mean?
Yeah, so like my example in my career when I was at corporate, like I was making good money. I had built my account base from nothing into $14 million a year. I was the number one salesperson in the region for several years. I was making the company $14 million a year, right?
Wow.
And I was making a decent six figure income, but it's still like I was making other people rich, right? But not myself, for one. And also, like, that could be taken away at any time. In my case, it was my largest account got bought out by a company in India,
All
right?
right. Did
In,
that.
in today's world, like, it's AI. So AI is putting so many people out of work because now with AI, it can do the work of dozens of people. You just need one person now that takes over, that manages it and tells it what to do. And then now you got 20, 30, 40 people unemployed, right? So I do see a lot, and that's a lot of the people that I work with are one, like burnt out executives, but they're also a lot of executives that I work with are also like in between jobs because they were replaced or their
Mm.
position was no longer needed. um, so yes, like you could be in a position where maybe you're making two, three, $400,000 a year. You're doing great. Like on paper, you're successful. That could be taken away at any time, and you're also like beholden to that corporation's timeline, that corporation's rules. Like when you own your own business, you really kind of control your own destiny, especially if you buy something that you're aligned with, right?
Right.
You're not married to you're not a slave to some business. If you do it
Right.
right at the beginning, then like for me, for example, like with my e-commerce business, with my consulting, even with my franchise I bought, like I even doing all three of those things at once. I still never miss an event with that my children have, right? If they've got a sporting event, if they got a school event, like I can just block it off on my calendar. I'm my own man. I'm my own boss. I do what I want when I want. And that's the greatest part of it. The income is incredible. I love that part of it. The freedom and the stuff that I can provide my family is great. But even more important to me is the ability to say, I'm not working today. I've got other important things. And so to me, that whole spectrum is what success is, right? It's not at the end of the day, I make $300,000 a year, but I work 80 hours a week and I have to do this and I have to travel and I'm, 8 to 5. I can't do anything but, that's it's
Right.
success on paper, but it's not success to me, right? And so to me, I need that freedom, financial freedom, but also time freedom to do what's important to me.
Well, and there's a key point there, right? I think a lot of people that imagine having their own business, time freedom is a big part of that. And then sometimes they get stuck in, the spin of it all. And if they're not managing their team correctly and setting up the right systems and structures, right, then it ends up consuming them instead of them running the business,
Yeah.
right? And so
And don't
having,
get me wrong, like owning a business is a lot of work,
yeah.
right? Like I have found myself working harder and longer hours than I did in my corporate job, but I enjoy it and I do it for myself, right? I'm
Right.
not doing it for somebody else. So it doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. When you enjoy it, when you're passionate about it, it doesn't feel like work, right? When
Yeah.
you're aligned with it. So, what you're saying is income isn't the only thing that measures success, it's a lot of other things.
Oh, yeah, it's
And
a lot of
so,
fun.
if there's people out there listening at their very heart of hearts, look successful on paper, but don't feel it in their heart, then yeah, come see me and Rich and let's see what is the right business move for you, right? And so you had a comment about escaping the 9 to 5 the responsible way. And this is what we're talking about, right? If you're ready to get out of the 9 to 5 on somebody else's paycheck, right? And create your own freedom of time, freedom of finances, then a conversation is worthwhile with Rich and myself. I just love this conversation. I really hadn't thought deeply into the franchise world. And now I have a new friend in Rich Potter to think about. And my clients can be connected to find out if franchising is their opportunity.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I'd love to help anybody out that's even thinking about it. Again, it's free. So, you want to set up a 15-minute call with me. I'd love to talk to you. No obligation to do anything. If you just kind of want to brainstorm and see if it might be right for you, I'd love to have that conversation.
Is there a link that we can provide the audience, Rich, for that 15-minute scheduled call with you to jump in? Or
Yeah,
how?
I could. Yeah, I can provide you with my calendar link as well. Like you can go to my website, franchiseheroes.co, right up there. You can also reach out to me at rich@quantumfranchisegroup.com. I'm happy to provide my phone number if you want to put my phone number in the show notes or whatever as well. So
We'll
and
make
you
sure
can
all of this is
you
in the
can find
show notes.
me, and I'm on LinkedIn too, so you can find me Rich Potter LinkedIn. So
Awesome. Yes. So we'll make it easy for our audience to find you and put all of this into the show notes. And hopefully we can get you back again sometime. I still have an individual I'm going to connect you with. I'm going to do that right after our call today. So really appreciate you being on. Any final words for my audience?
no, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, thank you for having me. I really enjoy jumping on here and having these conversations. Again, just to reemphasize, like, don't go it alone. There's no cost difference when buying a franchise. The franchise fee is going to be the same whether you work with a consultant or not. So, highly encourage, like, reach out to me. Let's talk about alignment. Let's get clear on what it is that you're trying to build and let me show you things that will help you get there, right? So
Love
I'd
it.
love an opportunity to work with them.
Remember, my friends, clarity is power. And it's the number one C of the 6 C's to making your passion pay. So let us help you get that clarity. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again, Rich. We'll talk to you again sometime.
All right, thank you.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to Make Your Passion Pay. If today's episode inspired you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a rating, and share your thoughts in a review. Every listener makes a difference in spreading this mission of joy and purpose. Want to take the next step? Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, or anyone looking to build a thriving, values-driven workplace. Together, we can create communities where passion fuels success. Until next time, remember, when you lead with joy, you inspire greatness. Let's keep making your passion pay.